Once upon a time...
Into the Woods is a musical that premiered on Broadway November 7th, 1987, the year I was born. Created by purveyor of all things I love, Stephen Sondheim, and his partner, James Lapine. It explores the ideas of the Brothers Grimm tales and gives a postmodern dystopian and often disturbing look into the world of fairy tales. At the time of its creation, it was thought to be an anti-Disney property. Cinderella's marriage to Prince Charming is anything but a happily ever after.
This is ridiculous. What am I doing here? I'm in the wrong story.
Both princes are wolves in prince clothing, literally. And none of the characters lives a perfectly happy existence. Little Red Riding Hood acts as a metaphor for innocence lost through pretty explicitly men stealing that innocence through unwanted sexual advances.
Though I really got scared, well, excited and scared.
The baker and his wife have a mostly unhappy marriage, and Jack has an affair with the giant's wife.
And she draws you close to her giant breast.
What a cougar. No wonder this musical was thought to be anti-Disney. After all, Disney and its IP have been the purveyor of cultural innocence and family-friendly content for years. Disney would surely not want the general public asking questions about the goodness of their characters.
Oh, were you poisoned? No. Cursed? No. Kidnapped or enslaved? No. Are you guys okay? Should I call the police?
That said, in 2014, Disney made this into its own franchise, so the times, they are a-changin'. So how did Disney go from squelcher of those who would dare challenge their goodness to their own veritable cinema sins? Well, let's talk about it. Before we get started, on this channel, I create content that analyzes the cultural implication of Disney movies, and I want you to join us. Please hang out with us down in the comments, talk about your favorite Disney movies, tell me what topics you would like to hear me discuss, and help me make this channel a little bit more what you would like it to be. Also, press that like button just for every video, or even dislike it. I don't care what you do, anything that you do to engage just helps other people find this content and get watching and enjoying along with the rest of us. Also, stick through to the end for a twist that you'll never see coming. Now let's get back to how Disney movies became self-aware. One thing I find fascinating is the proximity of Disney's Renaissance to the first performances of Into the Woods. The Little Mermaid was released to theaters in 1989, while Into the Woods' seminal performances happened in 1987. Which means as Sondheim was deep in development of Into the Woods, Katzenberg, head of Disney's animation department, was holding gong shows. The Disney company was known for its incredible animation since before even Snow White. By the mid-1980s, the Disney Animation Studio had been in existence for over 60 years, but let's just say it wasn't what it used to be. After Disney's death, their animated movies were released at a much less frequent rate, and Disney began to be seen by the youths as a company they wanted to distance themselves from, which Disney never wants to have, and is one more reason why Generation X should be the forgotten generation. Anyway, knowing they had a lot of work to do, the head of animation began gathering the animators together for what he called gong shows. At gong shows, these animators would throw out pitches for movies in a rapid-fire form to get out the best ideas. They would throw their ideas basically up against the wall and just kind of see what stuck. This is where we got the majority of the movie ideas for the 90s and early 2000s. It seems to me though that many of these animators may have had at least a passing understanding of Into the Woods. Not only did the amazing and revolutionary Howard Ashman make a pitch to the studio that musicals were integral to the history of Disney animation.
I'm really a musical theater person, and I do see a very, very strong connection between these two media.
But the Disney Renaissance movies were decidedly more self-actualized than their historical counterparts. Maybe it was just something in the air, but there was an emphasis on the idea that maybe these characters should have, I don't know, character development or something.
You're so nice. You're not good, you're not bad, you're just nice.
The princesses, of course, were more self-actualized, being more about character growth than house cleaning or kissing. But I think as a culture, we've forgotten just how underdeveloped the princes in these movies were also. With the exception of Prince Philip, our classic princes don't even have names or personalities of any sort. At least we know that Snow White enjoys cleaning and likes to sing to birds and bake pies and stuff like that. What do we know about this poor aristocrat? Nothing! All we know is that the poor guy has the body of a 10-year-old and the voice of a 40-year-old. And dude is butt ugly. I mean, this is an incel among incels. Sorry, but it's true. But in the decade of the 90s, princes look like people, and they have semi-developed personalities, even if part of that personality development is being a kleptomaniac.
I steal only what I can afford. That's everything.
And princesses were feminists, like actually feminists. None of this woke for money bullcrap. So now let's talk about the villains, since ultimately that's what we want to get around to. And I have a lot to say about this topic. Just look at how long this video is.
I'm not good, I'm not nice, I'm just right.
Early Disney villains are undisputably the best. No character has been or will be as badass as Maleficent. We don't want to know why Maleficent is evil. We don't care why Maleficent is evil. The fact is that she's evil and she enjoys it like a boss. That's why we like her.
And all the powers of hell!
We don't identify with her, at least I hope that we don't, but we love to watch her. There's no reason why our earliest bad girls. Yeah, that's right. There were no bad guys, really. Interesting. Anyway, there's no reason why our bad girls are bad at first, and there's no reason why our good girls are good. They just are. But now let's talk motivation.
No one can prepare you for the world.
In an interview with Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch of the West, Hamilton makes it clear that the Wicked Witch is not evil. She's just frustrated.
And I just think that sometimes we think she's just mean and a very bad person, but actually you have to think about her point of view, that it wasn't as happy a time as she wanted it to be because she just never got what she wanted.
This clip was released in 1975, but this sentiment is something that we continue to see in the modern age. And it's here that we need to have a discussion
about postmodernism.
It's hard to find a definition for postmodernism, except for that it's something that has governed the precepts of our society for the last years, decades. Probably the best guess to define postmodernism is to say all people are equally right, which we seem to be moving past now that much of society is more accepting of liberal ideas. That's an issue in itself, but we can leave that for another video. In the 40s and 50s, it was easy to buy the idea that a villain was bad for the simple reason of wanting to be bad. But as the hippie culture began to question the goodness of American government and the altruism of a war that America never won, the idea that good guys were good guys and that bad guys were wantonly bad became an increasingly hard sell. Then came the 90s.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
By the time we reached Disney's Renaissance, our villains became a bit more complex. We expected that an evil person would have at least the faintest of reasons to motivate their evality. The king threw you out of the palace. You are a Chad incel who has a superiority complex. You want to marry the princess. You are the king's gay brother who wants to unite the kingdom with those dirty, disgusting, low-life hyenas.
Oh, I shall practice my curtsy.
Or you want to exploit the land for money. Or you believe sexy women are the root cause of your sin. Or you want to exploit land for money. Or maybe you want to exploit the land for money. Why was exploiting the land for money such a theme? Pixar seemed to have the last villain who just wanted to be evil. And his evil was wantonly destroying toys, which, outside of this universe, do not have sentient thoughts or feelings. At least I think. The 90s created characters with easily understood motivations and easy to follow narratives until we started to get sick of it.
No one acts alone. Careful, no one is alone.
The internet has been responsible for many a travesty, but for all its negative features, it has given a voice to many people who previously had diminished voices at best. I'm certainly not advocating for a victim mentality here, but the truth is very few people had a voice on a public platform before the age of the internet. Even fewer marginalized people groups had that opportunity. Today we have YouTube, blogs, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Has TikTok ever been used for anything good? Etc. All of these platforms are places where any person can have a voice. Once upon a time, LGBTQ people were considered next to villainous, and they were only coded in media as punishable villains. Even just villains in general were always to be punished. The Hays Code in the 20s, 30s, and 40s described that immoral characters should always be punished in the end so that the overall populace wouldn't get any ideas of deciding to go off the cultural script. At one time, anyone betraying the social norms in America was considered to be an enemy of American morality and therefore someone who should not be encouraged. However, with the advent of social media and personal platforms, we can hear directly from many different cultural and subcultural groups. Any experience can be found, discussed, and listened to on the internets. And because of this, we can get a first-hand look at the experience of what was formerly only known as villainy. Not only can we hear about the life experiences of people who are very different from us, but we can also keep up with people throughout the year and often on a daily basis. This gives us, as the general populace, the illusion that we know these people who are different from us. And generally, when people feel that they know a person, they become more sympathetic to their viewpoint. This realization causes us as a culture to rethink our villains. Maybe the villain isn't just a monster. Maybe the villain could have been the good guy, or maybe the good guy could have been the baddie all along.
Nice is different than good.
So after decades of re-examining and ruining our media, millennials have come to the same conclusion Sondheim and Lapine came to in 1987. Nice is different than good. That prince you kissed in 1955? Maybe he was the villain all the while. There were moments of twist villains that were clearly created years ago from Pixar, but the coup de grace of all twist villains was this guy.
Oh, Anna. If only there was someone out there who loved you.
See, when Hans innocently bumped into Anna, I buy that he simply bumped into what he thought was a very sweet girl. But by the end of his scene with Anna, he knows that she is the princess, and he smiles.
And then he'll smile, his eyes light up.
Sorry, I'm in a 20th century Broadway kick for some reason right now. Shut up! Anyway, what we didn't realize while watching Frozen was that when Hans smiles, it really means,
now I'm gonna kill everything you love and destroy the life you've built.
This character is obviously not very method. By the time we enter this modern era of Disney, we have seen almost every conceivable way to make a twist villain. Some have had story arcs that make sense and others have not. We have seen some with weak excuses and others with very strong excuses. We have seen Elsa become the evil temptress that was tempting herself. Is that what was happening there? I don't know. That movie has too many damn themes. We have watched the good guy become evil before, but recently it's not enough to have an innocuously good, read nice, characters slowly become evil a la Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker. What a little putz. It is now important that you never see it coming. It's important that we lull you into a false sense of security and that you like this person and that you believe that they are good before you find out that these characters are our big baddies. And today we have seen this happen so many times that we no longer know what to believe. In order to fake us out, you have to meta fake us out. You have to pour the fake outs upon each other. You have to fake out the fake out. And this is where I
become the villain.
Is this a lighting change enough for you to now know that I'm a villain?
No. I need a hook. See, I know that you love them Star Wars, and I surely think that The Last Jedi was amazing. I mean, who wouldn't? but I'm gonna ruin it for you anyway.
I don't know what was up with that accent.
In the episode 9, Rey is evil. Why do I think that ruined anything for you? They say it in the freaking trailer. Well, okay, as a man who has only recently lost his Star Wars virginity, check out the playlist here. It's less awkward than it sounds. Here's what's gonna happen. Rey has been shown to be extremely good with her lightsaber and with randomly fixing anything. She has a mind meld with Kylo Ren and is apparently very good with the Force without having to actually put in the time to learn anything. It took Luke, someone who was strong in the Force. What keeps happening to my hook? A long time of rehearsal with Master Yoda to learn to productively use the Force. But this was never needed for Rey. Some have called her a Mary Sue, but I call her a clone.
But would you have me be handsome like a prince?
See, do you remember how many people be comparing movies 7 and 8 to A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back? The Disney company was lulling us into a false sense of security that this new trilogy was chronicling the rise of a new Luke. But it wasn't, was it? As the first 2 movies of the new set of 6, because they are going to make more trilogies than just this one. These movies were always a red herring for setting up a new villain. Instead of watching a new female Luke, we were watching the growth of a new female Anakin. But instead of killing the village that killed her parents, Rey will realize she never had parents because she was made in a petri dish. And she will go on a killing rampage where she will find and be controlled by the master of this, Master Palpatine, whose disembodied, unkillable voice will have his fingers in many jars. If you will pardon the messy metaphor for a disembodied, unkillable voice. Kylo Ren will redeem himself through sacrificially dying, thereby avoiding that awkward Reylo crap, which I secretly stan, and thereby ending any connection to the Skywalkers forever. After all, it is the end of the Skywalker series, as the promos have said. And Rey will assume a way cooler Darth Vader outfit that is updated for a modern audience and makes her ready to blow up the next Alderaan. And at the start of episode 10, we will see her enact her plan. Maybe this time, though, we'll be a bit more sympathetic to the Sith, because they're actually the good guys anyway. Let's be honest, though,
I'm just a noob at all of this, so I have no idea what's actually going to happen. It's not my story to tell anyway, so I'm sure it'll be a fun romp regardless. It just won't be as satisfying as it could have been if they don't do what I want. But one thing is for sure, if she is still good, or possibly gray by the end of this movie, she'll still be on the side of the people who watched Anakin slowly burn to death.
You were the chosen one! I loved you!
Help him, you jackass! And who speak in frequent absolutes.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
And who are constantly fighting against anyone who might deviate from social norms. Maybe if the Sith only had a YouTube channel or a blog or a Tumblr or a TikTok, or maybe the Sith really are the good guys.
I think my granny and my mother would be angry with me. Why? Well, they said to always make them proud. And here I'm about to kill somebody.
Oh, not somebody. A giant who has been doing harm.
But the giant's a person. Aren't we to show forgiveness?
So we arrive back at today. Today we are rethinking superheroes, we are retelling fairy tales, and we are creating new tales with characters who have new perspectives. We're even diversifying some of these beloved characters and infusing them with new cultures and new experiences, which I will say sounds at least way more interesting to me than retelling a story about a character who is already feminist with new woke feminism that really isn't woke at all. Anyway, at least new characters with new experiences are coming from different cultures and may give a fresh viewpoint, and I am very down with that. As our culture has become more accepting of people who were previously marginalized and still can be, our media rightfully reflects those changes. And eventually that leads corporations to turn onto themselves to the point of self-parody, obviously. Just look at all these brands on Twitter trying to remain relevant. Except for the last Blockbuster, that Twitter account will forever be a classic, not a sponsored video. As we have become more cynical, they have cast an ever more quizzical eye at themselves. And Is that a bad thing? Or should all corporations just be destroyed? I mean, I don't want to live in a world without Disney, but they did destroy the giant in Into the Woods. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you're watching this, please write in the comments, I'm a postmodern superhero. If you're new or haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Please like this video or let me know what you think about this topic down in the comments. Also, if you have any ideas for future videos, please let me know what they are. Thanks for watching, Merry Christmas, and remember to take some time this Christmas season to remember who it's really about. I'll see you again sometime soon.